Technology advances have blurred the boundaries between the digital and physical worlds. Intelligent, interconnected systems now seamlessly support activities along the entire value chain. It means revolving from disrupted to being the disruptor. Are we ready for the Industrial 4.0? What are the challenges? For this, I would like to call on stage and invite our panel members, Dattatreya Gaur, VP and Head of BU, Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions, Mrityunjay Singh, Executive Director and President, Services at Persistent Systems, Lalit Ahuja, CEO, NSR Consulting. To moderate this session, I would like to call on stage Thirumala Rao Chamala.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really privileged to be here this afternoon with you since morning. It was really a very, very nice experience for me. Personally, I have been associated with Vizag since my early part of my career, and coming after almost 25 years here, this has been really very good. And what I saw today, what Mr. Pradyum showed, what the Honorable Chief Minister said, it's amazing. What I'm really awestruck is that what policy decisions are taken, and not just the decisions are taken, but also how they are implemented and how benefits are already being reaped from that, which sets the context for our talk today. I think this, I'm going to, in the next 5 or 7 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about industrial IoT, or the fourth industrial revolution, what some people call it. And I would just like to give you some information, so maybe clear some myths and talk a little bit about what this is. So currently our industry is in a transition. If we see that people call it the fourth industrial revolution, for very simple things is that we have now in manufacturing segment come to a plateau. A lot of improvements have happened, but we have a strange situation now. A lot of globalization has happened, and now people are thinking, is this the best way to move forward in future? And there are lots of technology advancements which have taken place to increase the flexibility, to reduce the batch sizes, to improve the general conditions of manufacturing. And it is very, very exciting. I give you an example. Today, if you think of any manufacturing line, let me take an example of a company that makes shoes. They would produce probably 5,000 shoes of similar size, color, left foot for certain period of the day, and then they will change the batch and they will produce the matching right parts and so on. Yeah. How do you think of a situation where you walk into a showroom of a footwear company, go there, there are some technologies which will take the measurement. You can choose this type of sole. I'm athletic type. I would like to have, these are my pressure sensors on my foot, and I would like to have a tailor-made shoe. And they do a 3D printing of your shoe then and there and hand it over to you. These technologies, digital technologies, are here for real. I'm not talking of a hypothetical scenario. These studios have already started showing up in the world. A lot of people are saying that IoT has significant potential for disruption. I fully believe in that, and also say that the winner takes it all. Some of the real successful companies are listed here, and if you just think about it, you would agree with me that yes, digital transformation is already happening, and people are actually becoming very, very successful with that. At Bosch, we also think that the interconnected world, the connectivity would be a big transformation for all our businesses. We have 4 major segments of our businesses. We are world's largest producer of automotive parts. That's our mobility business. Then we have technologies and businesses in building segment. We have an industrial segment and energy segment. And we say that we are not only making physical products in these segments, but in the future we are seeing more and more connectedness. Just a glimpse of what Bosch is. It's a 130-year-old German conglomerate. We are big on technology. Our logo is invented for life, which means that we invest in technologies, we work on technologies that somehow improve the quality of life. It supports the life, it improves the quality of life. And one significant point for which we all Boschlers are very proud of, is that we are a privately owned company, a company that has over 70 billion euro turnover. It's a privately owned company. We invest almost 10% into our product R&D and technologies, and we are under no shareholder pressure to invest in these technologies, even though they may have more mature, they may take longer to mature. We have approximately 375,000 associates worldwide. One other KPI for being a very technology-oriented company is the number of patents that we file. We are one of the world's largest company in terms of number of patents that are filed on an average day. We file 18 patents somewhere on the world. And yes, of course, we are also quite profitable, so it is not just a phantom number, but with about 4.5% EBIT, it's really a very good company and performing very well. So now let me talk about Industry 4.0. A lot of people say that, this is a new buzzword. Is it a hype? Yes, of course. People may think that it is a hype. Whether it is going to be a hype or not, we will see. But this is a typical curve on which you see that is basically when people in the early phase are talking quite a lot about that topic. Okay, some initial examples start showing up, and then people go through a valley of tears. Yeah. Oh my God, now this requires this. Am I ready? This requires, what are the prerequisites for this? And so on. And slowly then benefits start to show up. And our endeavor is that we not let you drag into the valley of tears, but how easily we can flatten this journey without going into the deep path. Why I'm telling you all this? Basically, Industry 4.0 is nothing but infusing digital technologies, sensors, data analytics into our manufacturing plants. And yes, we are not talking of only greenfield plants. We are talking of brownfield plants. We have huge manufacturing base that we have. Problem is, how do you increase the efficiency? How do you increase electrical energy efficiency of your plant? How do you increase flexibility of your plant? How can we have a higher level of quality? Everything is possible. How can I save money on my predictive maintenance schedules? Yeah? And these are some of the examples which we have taken from our own 276 plants that Bosch has worldwide. Bosch has a very unique position in this whole game. We have companies that are producing all the building blocks for IoT, for industrial. We make smallest of the sensors. We call them micro electro machine sensors. Every 4 out of 5 cell phones now carry a Bosch sensor. These are sensors which are accelerometers, pressure sensor, hygrometers, temperature meters, and so on. And these sensors are the actual building blocks. Then we combine these sensors into some sensor modules, and we have ready-made deployable solutions. Today, if you want to track a shipment, let us say of some agricultural produce which requires a special environment for transportation, all you have to do is just put one of our sensor modules, which is basically with a magnetic back, stick it, and we have a IoT deployed solution already. It has a GPS sensor therein. It tracks everything that, all the environmental parameters that the produce is subjected to during this transportation. At the end of the destination, a guy comes in, he just automatically, he gets all the data over a radio technology from the sensor, and then and there they can decide whether the produce which is at your door, is it of right quality that you want to accept or you want to reject it? And when we couple this to some of these forward-looking technologies which we heard this morning from Mr. Chaudhary, blockchain technology, then we can even do e-contracts directly. There's no paper involved. Yeah? So that is the future where we are. And blockchain may be still in future, but I'm telling you that these sensors and these use cases are very much happening now and here. Some of our journeys, we started in 2013 with some pilot projects, because when a new idea comes in, nobody is very sure of what the benefits would be. Even though we all know that benefits will be there, we need to pilot these. We did that, and now we are completely digitalizing our value streams. All the manufacturing lines are getting digitalized. And then we are trying to roll it out also into our international production networks. How do you interconnect factories? How can a factory in India learn from a factory in, let's say, Germany, south of Germany, or China? Have they had similar problems? What solutions did they apply? All this database is available, a lot of data analytics on the cloud, on the edge. Yeah, this is all happening now. Industry 4.0 also emanates from Germany because a lot of German companies and German government actually have invested heavily in the last years. Billions of euros have been invested into these technologies. So world knows that Industry 4.0 is actually coming out of Germany, and to be proud of that, they also retain the spelling of the word. I have used the English industry, but the German industry would end with not Y, but IE. So yeah, that is what people actually try to say, that 4.0 is coming from Germany. But here I would like to tell you one thing. If we see the whole transformation, the first industrial revolution, it also happened in West. It took, I think, about a century to come to India. Second revolution took about 50 years. Third, perhaps 20 years. Fourth revolution, we are actually at the same time bringing these technologies to India. So there is no time gap between what is happening in Germany and what is happening elsewhere. Here, we are ahead of them because in India, we are actually, from India, we are supporting quite a lot, so we can be proud of that. But here there are two examples that I've taken. That one is from on the left-hand side is from our Anderson plant in US, that we were able to deploy these technologies. And a remarkable thing there was that we are now getting some KPIs directly onto very, very cheap smartwatches, wearables, yeah. Smartwatch as low as $70, which runs a decent size computing abilities. They get all these KPIs directly, alarms, and that increases productivity manifold. The other example on the right-hand side you will see is from our India plant. It is from our Birdi plant, where we set up an early warning system at the manufacturing lines. So people could actually get an early warning if you have a problem with incoming raw materials, and you could actually do production scheduling appropriately. The net result of that is very impressive. By the way, we used to have quite a lot of complaints, and since we have established this, there has been zero customer complaints on this. So we are also able to increase the quality of our product and increase the first pass yield by 4%. Now, summarizing this are some of the elements. What are we talking about? When we get these digital technologies in digital transformations inside the plant, then we are talking of two dimensions of integration. One dimension is the vertical dimension, shop floor to top floor, as we call it in very simple terms, right from the machine or even the machine part on which machining will be done. We put RFID stickers on that, and then it communicates directly with the machine. We get a lot of data, and this data goes transparently, appropriately through all the layers, and then we get fantastic opportunities to get benefits. The second dimension of transformation is the horizontal integration. And here we are not talking of just the manufacturing lines, but we are talking of your, on one hand side, the raw materials which are coming in, the whole supply chain gets transformed, and right up to your dealer networks. So you can actually get the real-time sales data directly from the end of, point of sales. All this is possible. This throws a lot of data in the cloud that we can do analytics. I would like to tell one thing about this slide, and that is the heart of it. If you see of these 5 blocks that I'm showing on my slide, the centerpiece is people as key players. In the morning, we had some discussions, and we also, this is an ongoing debate that I would like to tell you. Whenever there is an automation, there will be loss of jobs. Yeah? So there is a little bit of dichotomy. At one end, we all know that when there is automation, there will be loss of jobs. At the other side, all our leaders, including our Honorable Prime Minister, he says that Make in India, Stand Up India, Skill Up India, all this will create new jobs. So Industry 4.0 is also supposed to create new jobs. Are these two different ones? No. I think that they are very well interlinked. So what is for sure is that when automation increases, low-skilled jobs will be killed. Yeah? And high-skilled jobs, new jobs will come up. Let me give you an example for that. Today, if I go to a manufacturing plant, I ask the operator who is in his late 50s, about to retire in a few years, I ask him, how do you know that this machine is producing correctly? Very often I've heard an answer, I can hear it. Yeah? सुन के बता देता हूँ. And he will be retired. All that know-how he has gained over 30 years standing in front of one single machine. He knows that machine in and out so well that he doesn't need any sensors. He can look at the machine, hear that machine, and he can tell. Is our next generation willing to do that? No. No. They're not willing to do that. Gen Y is certainly not willing to do that, because they would say, well, this is outdated. I can't work in this environment. Just change the paradigm. I connect some sensors there. The data is coming out. This Gen Y, our new factory operator, would basically move around with his tab. He will have all the data that is required, not only the data, but he will also get to know if this is the machine which is throwing an alarm. Before he even walks up to the machine, he will get lots and lots of information of what has gone wrong, what were the last 5 times worldwide such problems occurred, what was the common fix. So he will go prepared with those tools and knowledge then and there. We don't have to really build in, and this is the beauty. So that is the bridge that we will see, and therefore I also personally believe that humans will not go out of job so soon. Now the last slide, basically to tell you what are the benefits that we are all getting it. All our value streams will get digitalized, and this is based on survey. This survey was done worldwide, and from this what we see is that approximately one-third is the level of digitalized value streams in Western world. We will see that will go by 2020, grow up to about 72%. So we see a massive, massive growth there. Why will people do that? Because that gives you benefits on your top line and also on your bottom line. You earn additional revenues, so people say who have transformed get roughly about 3% additional revenues from these digital technologies. And on the bottom line, they give even significant numbers. 3.6% in cost reduction and about 4% increase, more than 4% increase in efficiency. This is huge, huge impact to the bottom line. So we see multi parts benefit. And yes, of course, data analytics will play a very, very important role in decision making. Already it is very important. It is playing an important role. It will become even more impressive. And also about 50% of the people, and now this is a little bit of a threat. 50% of the participants in this survey, they also said that lack of digital culture and training would be the biggest challenge that we'll all be facing. So, well, opportunities, challenges, and with this I would like to close the presentation and then go in for the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Dattatreya. Most of our doubts in terms of what is this Industry 4.0 as a buzzword, right? Everybody talks about it today. So I think your presentation has clearly detailed everything about what is Industry 4.0. So thank you very much for your time. I would now request Mr. Mrityunjay Shah. Given this entire, just to introduce Mrityunjay Shah, he is the president and board member of Persistent Systems, which is based out of Pune, one of the upcoming IT software companies. Sir, one thing that I would like to ask you is, you being the representative of a services company, I'm sure he spoke about job loss. And then today, every services company is focusing on the data, plain vanilla skill sets, right? So how are you trying to gear up to this challenge of Industry 4.0 with IoT coming into picture? So I just would like to hear from you on the process going forward for companies like you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And it was great to listen to the Chief Minister in the morning talking about his vision for the state. I meet and work with a lot of government, both outside India and in India. But I have never heard a political person talk about technology and the consumption of technology the way he was doing. So very impressive. So I must congratulate the state to have a chief minister as visionary as him. And trust me, I meet a lot of politicians in my job. I haven't met people who talk technology like that. So great to be here. One shift which is companies like us are doing is we are moving away from services as a services-only companies. We are creating products. So Persistent now, 28% of my revenue actually comes from product. We build software product and we sell the software product. Then the remaining 20% of my revenue comes from working on new age, cutting edge technology where people are building products on that. So we work on IBM Watson, we work on blockchain, we work on IoT technology. I'll give some examples of that. And then we do services, which is all about future-looking technology. So if the world is shifting towards this newer technology, and the question is, how do you gear up for these? I strongly believe the job definition of future is going to be very, very different. Today, most of us are probably writing programs. I think with the advent of faster computing and programming becoming more systemic and predictable and reusable, the programming as a job will disappear. There will be very limited number of programmers who will write how these program generators will work. And that's going to be a very small number of people. So from a technology industry, that's going to dramatically be different. If you look at whether it's manufacturing, whether it's governance, I think the world is moving towards more real-time, both origination of data, feedback, and decision making. Whether it's you take title of a land, you take security, you take analytics, you take cooking, everything will move to a lot more real time. And the jobs that will get created will be to either operate these real-time systems, monitor these real-time systems, or take analytics and take decisions on a data which is being generated in near real time. And in our company, for example, our new job specs are very different. And I'll give you a very glimpse of how it is changing. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we used to hire from tier 3 engineering colleges. In last 2 years, my intake from IIT has gone up by almost 300%. Because we suddenly realized that the kind of work we are getting into, we need a different quality of people. We hire only computer science people because we think the new world is about very complex technology, which looks very simple from outside, but inside is really complex technology because you have to get real-time data, image, voice. And I saw some example today morning being talked about image processing, using machine learning to predict what will go wrong and ensure that people are reacting to that in near real time. So the job that will happen in this new world is going to be very, very different. There will be a lot more data scientists required. There will be a lot more people who can correlate various data sources and predict what will happen. I mean, for example, and I work with a couple of my customers, there's a cooking company called Breville. What they're doing is you can download a recipe in their device, which is a pot, right? So they call it a pot. In the pot, you can download a recipe. Once you downloaded a recipe, the pot will regulate the temperature based on the recipe. You don't need to understand how to cook a biryani, for example. You don't need to understand how to cook a particular dish. The pot will take care of that. All you need to do is put the ingredient in the order that the recipe tells you to. Right? Now, this is not in future. This is happening right now. We have built this, and they are rolling it out. Okay? For one of the startups I work with, they created robot to monitor areas. Okay? And currently, they are trying to fit a taser gun in that. The application of that is once it is approved by the US government, they will be used for crowd control. If you are monitored, the second and the third bomb in New York bombing, which just happened 2 weeks ago, were actually deactivated by robots. Only the first one went off. The second and third were deactivated by robots. 100% successfully, right? Now, these are not future technology. I mean, drone war, for example, was talked about. We have built insurance adjustment using a drone for a company where the adjuster goes in a rural area, parks his car in a gas station, which is like a petrol pump in our parlance. He parks the car, he feeds the coordinates of where the accident is into the drone goes, takes photo. While the drone is doing this, he's actually filling up the form of what has gone wrong. By doing that, the guy who could do an assessment of an insurance claims, maybe 2 a day, is able to do 7, 8 a day. These are not future, right? This is not future, it's here. It's right here, right now. So the job that entails now is very different because people need to think very differently. The job to write code is gone. And I give this example to a lot of people in my company. My kids write software program like they're writing essays. They don't learn programming. They just write it like an essay. They don't compile it. They don't try it. They write it and it works. It's like Google spelling, right? You don't learn spelling anymore. Google will correct it for you. The word corrects it for you. The programming will become like that. You will not need to learn programming. You type it, the machine will take care of writing the code for you. So the application of how to use this technology will become very relevant in future.
Thanks a lot for your insights. Now I would like to move on to Mr. Lalita Hoja. Sir, you have spoken about retail store in the space, and then you spoke about future technologies, and then machine learning, data sciences, all the buzzwords that everybody is hearing in the industry today. Being a consulting firm head, what is important for us to understand from you is that if we have to work together in terms of creating that skill set in Andhra Pradesh. Mr. Mrutyunjay just now said that we only take from IITs, right? But IITs can only produce a finite number of people. As a state, which is very progressive in nature, we have to produce even from colleges. We are actually thinking beyond in terms of creating skill set. Also, we are talking about Industry 4.0. So, for a consulting firm like you, what are the opportunities? And then what is your advice in terms of creating that skill set within the state to be a progressive state? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think first of all, I want to echo some of the comments around the day. Very insightful and very exciting. And I think the icing on the cake was Honorable Chief Minister's address. I think the state has to work very hard to mess it up. I mean, with a visionary like Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, we are very sure the state will go very, very far. So I think we've heard some very interesting comments, but I think what's coming out is the fact that the future is here. It's present, it's real, and it's very rapidly changing the world. And that obviously has a huge bearing on just about all industries, and specifically as we talk about what the state has to do to gear up for some of the opportunities that the future presents. It's extremely important to understand some of the broader implications of Industry 4.0 or the huge disruption and innovation that is literally sweeping the industry. I mean, think about the fact that a company like Airbnb with just some amazing technology has a market cap much more than Marriott and Sheraton and Hilton put together. Or look at an Uber with a market cap a lot more than the 5 of the biggest car rental companies with hundreds of thousands of cars in their balance sheet, right? So that's a new word we are getting into. I just want to go back maybe 10 years, talk about my a little bit of my personal experience and the impact the future is having on some of the businesses. So 2005 I joined Target, and that was a time when a small company called Amazon was just beginning to become formidable, was just beginning to get visible and just get noticed. Target in 2005 was about a $30 billion company in market cap, and Walmart with almost about $250 billion in revenues was, of course, the industry leader. If you look at what happened yesterday or last week or last month, Amazon crossed $400 billion in market cap, which is about twice the size of Walmart. And some of you who are not very familiar with the retail landscape, Walmart is about $450 billion in revenues with a market cap of about $200 billion. If you look at Amazon with about a little over $100 billion in revenue, has about $400 billion in market cap. But interestingly, about a year back, Amazon crossed Walmart's market cap, and last week its market cap became double of Walmart. So Walmart has about 1 million employees, close to 12,000 stores in many parts of the world, largely in the United States, but they are in 7 or 8 different countries. They carry possibly an inventory which is about $20 billion. They are one of the largest owners of land in the world. So with all these assets and of course a brand, they're half of Amazon. Or if you look at a Facebook, you know, which is closer to Amazon. If you look at some of the most valuable companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and of course somewhere, you know, catching up are companies like Airbnb and Uber, right? I mean, there's something about these companies. I mean, they're very digital companies, almost no assets, and they are pursuing a very, very different business model. I want to take another example and then come to, you know, some of the, you know, questions or you know, what, you know, I wanted to address. So there's a food company that we are working with, and they are in the process of setting up possibly one of the most sophisticated technology center in India, or maybe one of the most sophisticated technology center in the world. And they're looking at leveraging capabilities here to develop next generation ordering systems, which will be based on deep stochastic and predictive analytics. What it basically means is when you want to order food, in the food industry, the you know, the conversion rate is really low. I mean, people are confused, and therefore, you know, they navigate the options and eventually, you know, exit the apps or the online ordering capabilities. And what this company is trying to do is, you know, understand consumer behavior and tell people what they should really be eating based on, you know, a deep analysis of their past preferences. Likewise, you know, one of the important considerations for food is the freshness, and therefore this company, which is, you know, building its business around the whole delivery model, you know, currently about 12,000 stores or food serving outlets around the world, and they see in next 5 years, maybe the number 12,000 will come down to 0. So everything is going to be are based around technology and analytics, and of course a lot of different kinds of, you know, concepts that are just so real today that we are talking about. So basically, to address the question of freshness, you know, this company is going to be developing technology that will determine the time it's going to take under traffic conditions to deliver food, and therefore do some part of the cooking as the food is being delivered, right? So this will have a paradigm shift in terms of the entire, you know, cooking and the delivery process, right? So you see a lot of companies that are transforming themselves. You know, technology is no longer a non-core business. Many of the last mile companies, whether they are retailers or financial institutions or apparel companies or food companies, are now becoming technology company. And coming back to this food company, which is, you know, one of the largest food companies in the world, you know, I had an opportunity to talk to their leadership team, and there was not one person with expertise in the food industry in the leadership team. Everybody was either a data scientist or a technologist. So here's a food company that is, you know, becoming more like a Google or a Microsoft, you know. So think about where, you know, a company like Amazon started, right? I mean, they were a small online bookstore, and today they are competing with a company like IBM and winning deals against IBM and you know, Accenture, with opportunities with NASA and the, you know, US Department of Homeland Security and some very complex technology or cloud enablement kind of projects. So the transformation from a small online bookstore to possibly, you know, a company that is the biggest supercomputer company in the world, you know, has been absolutely amazing, right? So, and all this has possibly happened in the last 10 years, right? And, you know, it's scary to even think what will happen in the next 5 years. And I guess that's the opportunity that we are talking about. You know, the future is not going to be about the traditional, technology development that we've all seen, the way Y2K grew the Indian IT industry from possibly a $5 billion industry to a $100 billion industry. I guess the opportunity to go from 100 billion to 300 billion in the next 5 to 10 years will come through a DNA transformation of our industry. It's about leapfrogging, and it's about thinking about, how do we build capabilities to bring Industry 4.0 to life, or, the fact that, digital transformation is now a mainstream operating model for most of the companies. So I guess it's about, how we create a talent pool, how do we train the talent pool, what kind of capabilities we build to address the industry need. The good or the bad news, depending upon how we look at it, is the fact that in as much as this transformation is real, there is no talent available in most of the countries that are at the forefront of this transformation. I mean, take United States. Most of the companies that we are talking about are located in the hinterland, right? They are located in, counties and, small towns, with a population of sometimes even under 500,000 people, virtually no people who can understand analytics, who can understand mobile, who can, get into cloud computing. And that opportunity exists today. So I don't think there's an opportunity to build a large Java or a C++, system anymore. I mean, these opportunities will eventually go away, and we have to think about how do we leapfrog and address the opportunities that lie ahead that will bring to life some of the concepts that we are talking about. And to take advantage of the talent pool that's available in India, a lot of companies are coming to India. I mean, the reason why Bosch is in India is because they can find the talent pool that is helping them in building paradigms like Industry 4.0 or supporting some of these paradigms, right? And the approach that is being taken is very, very different. The way you, build a talent pool, the way you build systems is all going through a very, very rapid change. It's all about a non-linear progression. It's not about, hiring an army of people. It's all about innovation. It's about partnering with startups. It's about, collaboration. It's about finding those uncommon partners, that will help in the whole leapfrog journey. So I guess the story for the state of AP is to play the catch-up game very differently. And instead of playing the catch-up game, it's about playing the leadership game by building the next generation infrastructure that will help realize the massive global transformational opportunities. I mean, these opportunities are measured in hundreds of billions of dollars. Even in India, I mean, the infrastructure today doesn't exist to address the opportunities that the world presents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lalit. It's been very experience-based thought process that you have expressed. Yeah.
What happened for the last 15, 16 years. Couple of questions to you, Dattatreya, and to Mrityunjay. From an enterprise perspective and from a mass deployment perspective, how do you see IoT playing up in the country? So, we have heard challenges of security, we have heard challenges of, do we see any kind of improvements as we move forward and as deployments increase?
Yes, and very big yes to that. Sensor, as the volumes increase, things drop. One of the beauty of cyber-physical systems is when we are trying to bridge the physical problems and we are trying to get some silicon-based solutions. That is what is cyber-physical systems, digital world and physical world. When we bring together, we are opening up a very, very big opportunity for solving the problems at a fraction of a cost.
Right.
Yeah, and that is what is happening. I don't want to play jargons. I would just give you an example. All the sensors that I told you go into our sensor modules. The same sensors are available on our cell phones. And I'm seeing that the first cell phones are already appearing on the market, which can also detect particulate, pollutants in the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm allergic to, let us say, a certain small particle of dust, when I step into a hotel, yeah,
You're informed.
my phone will tell me whether I'm
Right.
safe here or not safe here. I'm walking in the garden, I am allergic to some pollens, and I will get the guidance, yeah? So basically, this is all happening, and it will come on cell phone. Moment it comes on cell phone, then we are not talking about the question you asked, yeah? It's all solved.
Mrityunjay?
I think sensors will become ubiquitous and they will be interchangeable and it will be all controlled by software. So we will not be able to distinguish whether the sensor is sitting in a bulb, a refrigerator or a phone. It will be everywhere. And once it is controlled by software, the cost is very low because you're talking about like millions, billions of sensors and the data processing will be very different. So not just the cost will come down, I think the predictability of using these devices across multiple things will be very different going forward. So you'll move seamlessly from your phone to your bulb as a person, bulb to a refrigerator, to a cooking device, to your car, to your flight, seamlessly.
Sure, right. Any questions that we have from the audience? And let it be questions, right? No statements would be needed. Can we have a mic here?
I'm Vijay Sarathi. This is about, I was talking to Ashwini about the subject called disruption and innovation. I'm from Harvard Business School. The subject called disruption and innovation started from Harvard Business School in the year 1997. This was from my professor, Clayton Christensen. It was an industrial statement, actually. But today we are talking about digital disruption and innovation. There is a change, which Lalit did mention quite a lot about it. But I think the persistent systems also did mention a lot. The Bosch is already doing in terms of IoT gadgets, which is possibly a disruption in industry as well as IT. So I want to understand, the first book Clayton Christensen wrote was Innovators Dilemma. What is the dilemma right now we see in terms of disruption and innovation in digital? The first dilemma a lot of people said here was job loss. The second dilemma people said was in terms of new skilled work, which the first speaker said, Mr. Dattatreya Gaur. The Lalit, I think I want you to answer this in terms of consulting group also, and also all three of you panelists. So what is the dilemma in this whole subject called disruption innovation in digital world? Thank you very much.
So his question is not on Industry 4.0, but yes, it covers the areas of digital disruption. Yeah, so quick.
The three
quick
areas
response.
of systems, the industrial network of new IoT things, and also the consulting part. What is the innovator's dilemma? I would also ask NT Arun Kumar about this. In terms of banking, what is the difficulty in banking with the digital disruption which we are trying to adopt?
So
We'll keep NT Arun Kumar's answer for later, so he's on the panel.
Munja, let me try to. I've been in this industry for many years, and we deliberate this question as an industry at NASSCOM and various forums. I think the most relevant question to be asked today is the relevance of any industry, of your relevance to the stakeholder which is changing. I think the biggest dilemma that we have today is, and I'll give you a banking example. I work with a lot of banks. And a lot of banks are failing to understand why people are not using mobile devices to interact with them. Because mobile device has a limited real estate. And I will give it to only a specific app that I want. Which means the banks have to disappear and become ubiquitous. Now, if you disappear and become ubiquitous, your dilemma is how do you exist?
True.
If your bank becomes inside Snapchat, inside a Facebook, inside whatever app I'm using, how do I exist as a bank? Then do I become redundant? So every industry, whether it's a financial services, whether it's a technology industry, whatever industry, manufacturing for example, if 3D printing goes beyond the basic plastics, let's say tomorrow there's a tire manufacturer and the rubbers can be used to manufacture tire, what do these tire companies do? I can design my own tire, right? So the dilemma that we have today across any industry is the relevance of the future of the society. And that is, in my mind, that is the biggest dilemma that we're facing. I don't think civilization has come to this crossroad in recent times. We probably hit that when we invented rail travel and various travel, which shortened the time that we take. I think we're hitting a stage where civilization is at a crossroad to decide where does this take us from here on.
Great.
Probably I go next. From my point of view, the dilemma is on the new business models, how to make it successful, how to take it big. Just to tell you, Mrityunjay, that yes, the adaptive manufacturing, or what we call 3D printing, has gone beyond plastics. We are talking about metals, and it's already in place. The first aircrafts which have been 3D printed are flying. Yeah, one model aircraft is flying complete, full size. I gave an example of a shoe that is happening. Maybe that is more in area of plastics, but yes, metal manufacturing is there. I know a company in Bangalore that they are making knee.
I mean at a scale.
At a scale, yes.
Scale. I mean,
Yeah.
if it becomes scale, Bosch will not be there.
I have not personally seen it, but I have attended some TED Talks, and I can tell you that there are a lot of examples available in the world where a batch size of one, which is produced on 3D printing, is costs the same as a mass production. And I give you an example, which again is from that TED Talk which I heard. A complex aircraft turbine, yeah, for example. This has 35 sub-assemblies. And to manufacture 35 different parts and then to assemble them in a certain way versus 3D printing, it costs the same.
No, it's not about cost.
It's technology, it is cost, it is proven that
Now,
it
this
the
is
same.
where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
So,
This is the subject can be answered in the way called a new theory called the job to be done.
Yeah.
This theory got inaugurated yesterday by Clayton Christensen. The book got released yesterday. This is called the JPTT. What is the job to be done now? What is the digital revolution you want to change it? So once you're clear about the job to be done, all your dilemmas are gone.
Absolutely. The job
Thank you
to be
very
done,
much.
for example, in this industry will become the design.
right.
It will become the design and not manufacturing itself.
No, no issues. Any more responses? Lalsa, you want to
Okay,
answer
I
to that?
think it's time to rewrite the disruptive innovation, concept. I think we got to come, yeah, and I want to talk about four things, right? I think what is leading the change of disruptive innovation is the consumer, right? And the consumer has changed forever, and until, I would say, till 2005, we had a consumer that was very slow to change and very slow to adopt newer technologies. And of course, some of the major disruptive changes that we've seen have happened in the last, 11, 12 years, primarily led by a very empowered consumer, and the way the consumer, today buys products and services. The second is, the entry barriers have, gone down. Any company can now challenge any company, right? It's changed dramatically. It's no longer about credibility, about capital, about consumer base. You can be an Uber or Airbnb, and in no time you can become one of the largest companies because there are no entry barriers. The third one is related to consumers, which is, the whole notion of the adoption rate. In bad old times, it was almost impossible to bring in a new product, and that to some extent impacted both disruption and innovation because there was a resistance to adoption. I mean, today the adoption rates have gone up dramatically. I saw one article, a couple of months back, which spoke about 50x, change in the adoption rate of new technologies by consumers over the last 10 years. So 50x, which is, quite dramatic. And the last one is around the changing business models, right? So the way we consume product and services has changed. And many of them are interrelated, right? It's ultimately about innovative, disruptive business coming in. It's about the high rate of adoption by consumers. It's about the changing consumer, and then, of course, the operating models that have changed, dramatically.
Right. Thank you so much, for being responsive and, sharing your views very candidly. We will close this session now. Thank you so much, our panel members and our moderator. A round of applause for them and a token of appreciation from our end.